I'm looking at the volt display on the scooter. It's quite erratic. Sometimes it's fully charged and then it's away down to the E for empty. I've checked the batteries, plenty of voltage in the batteries. Switch ignition on, switch off. It's still at empty. So what I've done is I've stuck the voltmeter in the charging terminal here. As you can see, I'm only reading the 6 volts, 6.6 volts, and that's not right because the batteries is more in the battery. So there must be a problem within the wiring loom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check the voltage that gets sent from the S drive controller, which is hidden in here, through the wiring loom up to the tiller. Okay, so I've just put my terminals across the black and red, which is for the ignition barrel, and let me just push that in there. We're getting about 7 volts when it should really be 24. So usually sometimes there's a problem with the controller, or could be one of these fuse connections here. The power runs through these fuses. I have already checked these fuses. That's a 10 amp, that fuse is okay. So I've checked these connections here, but because they're dangling on here, they're moving about up and down, and when I'm moving it, we can see fluctuation in the voltmeter. It's not moving it. So there may be an issue with this wire because it's sitting out here, water contamination or whatever. So we'll have a look in there and see where we go from there. We'll remove these 2 screws, we'll take this plate off, and I can gain access to the S drive that's hiding in behind there. Of course you can see there's no water protection in there. What I can get at it, I've just taken these 2 screws off and just lay the S drive down, and now I'm looking at the voltmeter. Not done anything now, I'm getting 25.6 volts. Looking at my display here, it's straight into the full position. So there is a problem, in my opinion, around about here somewhere. So all I need to now do is move the wires to find out what is causing the issue. At the same time I'm moving all the wires, I am checking my multimeter at the same time to see for the drop that I'm going to get out here. It's me just pushed it against these 2 wires there. So there is, as I say, an issue here, so I'll just play about here, moving the wires, and I should eventually, find, once I find it, found the problem, I'll take another wee video. So as you're aware, I checked over the electrics on this scooter, trying to ascertain where the fault was, why I was only getting about 7 volts here at the positive, the black and the red, the negative black and the red positive connection. So the voltage was dropping as soon as I was operating the wigwag lever. So I've replaced all the battery nuts, so they've all been replaced. I've checked the wires, I've checked all the terminal connections for corrosion. That was definitely slack, so I've tightened that. And then the scooter was cutting out. So I followed the wire. The wire splits off at the back underneath here, and it goes to the circuit breaker, which is here, and that's actually located on here. Now when I removed the circuit breaker from its locating mount and took that off, see all that dirt, corrosion. That's corrosion from water, and that's it down here. That's the old one. It doesn't look very corroded, but it definitely is. There's a wee bit there. So what I've done is I've replaced it with a new one, and then I gave it a try, and guess what? She's spinning, she's not cutting out, and the voltage ain't dropping whatsoever. So with that in mind, always check every single connection. These were corroded, that was half hanging out, and then I followed, it was still cutting out. I followed all these, checked all these connections. All these connections, quite difficult to get at here. Watch that when you pull that back, you don't damage anything here. And then of course the circuit breaker. This is a thermal circuit breaker, it's like a fuse, but what will happen is that will trip, that will pop out about 1/4 of an inch, and you'll not get any power whatsoever. But in this case, as soon as I was depressing it, it must have been overheating. It's not tripping, but she's surely working now. So it took a wee while to find this this fault, but as I say, you follow all the wires and eventually you'll get there.